All right, let's now take a look at a short analysis of this particular attack, bearing in mind the attack that happened at the beginning of this month on the 6th. And now joining us from our city center studio is Enock Makanga, who is the chairperson of PROSAK. Many thanks for joining us here on NewsDesk. And definitely looking at the attack that happened at the beginning of this month, and now non-locals have continued to be targeted. What exactly is the strategy here for this Al-Shabaab militia?
First, I would like to send my condolences to the families that have been affected. And on the other hand, from the Protective and Safety Association point of view, we want to advise that we must have some principles that must be put in place. We must now put in place a mechanism that can deter Al-Shabaab from any further attacks to people in northeastern Kenya. And to be able to do this, we must be able to put in place a very serious, robust intelligence system that will be able to read the mood of what's happening and be able to understand what's happening before being attacked. Secondly, we must have a system that should be able to respond effectively to stop these guys from what they are doing, because it appears we are closer to the enemy, and the enemy is very much aware of what is happening on the Kenyan side, and we are not able to know when the enemy is coming. And that's why these attacks are just now happening. After 1 week, we're having another one, and this is not going to be good for us as a nation.
You've mentioned something very important, a robust intelligence system, but looking at the attacks that have been put out by the Al-Shabaab militants, one thing comes to mind: just how infiltrated are the areas in the northern part by the Al-Shabaab militants?
When you're talking about radicalization and you see how these guys are operating, if they were able to enter into police and be able to radicalize a police officer, like what happened at Kapenguria, that tells you that these guys can be able to get into the normal public system and be able to know what we're doing. And this calls for our intelligence guys on the ground in Mandera, because Mandera is a hotspot, Garissa is a hotspot, Mombasa is a hotspot. I'm happy that the Mombasa one, we had a very good response. But now for this one here happening just after 1 week, that tells you that somebody somewhere is sleeping on the job. And we must actually wake up and know that this thing must stop once and for all.
Do you think enough is being done towards that end, especially when it comes to intelligence and proper systems put in place, especially in the northern part of this country?
I think the government is doing what they can. But now they need to change the system or the method they are using, so that they are able to get real-time information. Otherwise, if we don't do this, what's going to happen is that Mandera is closer to the enemy. And in any normal circumstances, if you are closer to the enemy, that means you have to put your house in order. So if you don't put our houses in order in Mandera, then let's just expect these things to happen. And now the unfortunate thing is we are losing Kenyans. We can't just sit down and lose Kenyans simply because we have not put our house in order. We've bought equipment. We have so many boots on the ground. Why can't people swing in action so that we, at the end of the day, we stop Al-Shabaab once and for all?
All right, and of course, before I let you go, just still taking a look at these particular attacks, these most recent ones, we're told that it's members who were going to perform in schools in Mandera County. It means that these people had just gotten into the town in preparation for their performances. Back to my earlier question, could we say that Mandera is too infiltrated, that the enemy is able to know what is happening, who is coming into town, when, where they sleep, what they do?
Again, that takes us to what we call the terror cycle. The terror cycle involves target selection, target intelligence, target operation, and then they have a rehearsal, then finally they have to do the game. The issue is these people had information of what is going to happen. Now, did this information pass on to the police? If we are having any function within Mandera and we know this function is going to bring in a good number of people, then this is a time that the police need to come in and make sure that we move ahead of the enemy. But if we have to move this direction, what's going to happen is that Al-Shabaab will keep on picking easy targets, vulnerable targets, and at the end of the day, innocent Kenyans will keep on being killed. And this must stop.
Enock, thank you very much for joining us on KTN News Desk. That is Enock Makanga, who is the chairperson of PROSAK, joining us to just help us